everybody. We are joined by Muriel Kramer, the candidate for Massachusetts Governor's Council. Muriel, how are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having this forum for candidates.
Absolutely. So there's 4 candidates in the Democrat primary for Massachusetts
Right.
Governor Council. For those who may not know, can you explain the primary role and the responsibilities of someone in the Governor's Council?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. I think that not a lot of people do know too much about the Governor's Council. So the Governor's Council appoints judges, clerk magistrates, parole board appointees, industrial accident review board appointees, decides on pardons and commutations, also decides on notaries and justices of the peace. So there's a bit of a laundry list of appointments and decisions that they consider. Primarily, the decisions that they consider involve the legal system. So that's the criminal legal system, it's the family legal system, the civil system, judicial detention system, all of those things. And the decisions that they make impact everybody, and it's a little hard potentially to see how they impact everybody. But it's very important that we appoint people who are not only committed to the freedoms that we hold as important today, for example, women's reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus rights, but also to have sort of a growth mindset so that we grow into the future and we expand conceptually to make sure we're protecting everybody's human rights equally. So.
Excellent.
Yep.
So would you describe it as kind of like a cabinet, as if it was like a cabinet for the
Yeah.
president?
Maybe a little bit like a cabinet. Of course, the governor has her secretaries and cabinet members, so it's not seen that way. It is. It's a bit of a holdover to colonial times. Not every state has governor's councils. People feel differently about whether we should or shouldn't have it, but it is a little bit of an advisory role on some particular important decision making.
Terrific. So to help the voters get to know you a little better, can you talk about your professional and previous political experience, and ultimately what made you decide to run for the Governor's Council?
Yeah, thank you so much. So for those folks that don't know me, I'm a longtime Hopkinton resident. My husband and I moved here in '91, so a little over 30 years. All of our 6 kids have gone through the Hopkinton Public Schools. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, as is my husband. I went back to social work school when my youngest were in high school and started my social work career. I went back to social work school specifically because I wanted a career in social justice. And actually, I'll be honest with you, at the time, I didn't know that that was social work. But social work takes people into communities and into places where people are experiencing struggle. So I started my career in homelessness services and interacted a lot with the systems that serve people with substance use disorder, mental health struggles, judicial struggles with the criminal legal system, housing, transportation, food security struggles. So I learned a lot in Boston and Cambridge about the needs that a lot of people face and how easy it is for people to inadvertently get tangled up in the criminal justice system and not be able to sort of separate them. So I am really looking forward to having an opportunity as part of the vetting process to both challenge, and I use that word in a very constructive way, challenge candidates, but also inform candidates or learn together about ways that we can potentially rethink our system and do a better job not incarcerating, for example, people with substance use disorder needs and getting them into treatment. So as a social worker, that's really what I do a lot of, is systems building for substance use disorder treatment. And there are a lot of pathways to help people.
Excellent. And you did this a little bit in the last question, but can you please describe the experience and skills you have that distinguishes you from the other candidates in this year's Governor's Council race, and why you believe that you are the best choice for the position?
Yeah, thank you for that. It's always challenging. So it's true that none of the candidates have ever been on the governor's council. So none of us bring experience being counselors on that board. So I really think the question is how you're going to leverage your experiences. So as a lot of people know, I've had almost 20 years or about 20 years of civic experience in Hopkinton in appointed or elected roles. I have served on the select board twice. 3 of those 6 years I have been the chair on the select board. So I bring both an understanding of the legislative process and also executive leadership skills and comfort. I have a lot of comfort interacting, speaking publicly, but also interacting with people on that stage in a constructive and professional manner. My work as a social worker is really what brought me to it, though. So I feel like the biggest thing that I bring that is potentially a little different than my opponents, colleagues that are running for this spot, is my ability to advocate for other people, and who need the system to work a little bit differently for them, or need to be considered when we're making our decisions.
Excellent. If elected, what are your goals while being part of the Governor's Council?
Yeah. So probably my primary goal, probably the thing that brought me to it the most, was elevating the voices of folks that are affected and impacted by the decisions that judges and clerk magistrates and parole board appointees make on a daily basis. So I would love to make sure, we know that people from disadvantaged social circumstances, people with substance use disorder, mental illness, people who represent as people of color or across the gender binary, for example, are overrepresented in our incarceration system. So I want to make sure that we talk about that and we begin to problem solve together how to make sure that we level the playing field, and the justice system really works the same for you and I as it should for everybody. I will promote diversity in appointments, not just race and ethnicity, but that's important, but also geographic representation, also representation across the legal field. People who are prosecutors and defenders, people who have worked in the civil courts, and so that we have a rich diversity of skills and talents, and that the judges, our appointees, represent the communities that we intend to serve. And I think the biggest thing that I really hope to be part of is making connections with appointees, candidates for appointment, to the bigger picture of possibilities for the individuals that appear in front of them that are in a place of struggle. Everybody, I'm a big believer in accountability, but I'm also a big believer in constructive futures and constructive choices. Substance use disorder treatment is something we need to do a better job at, and I think an awful lot of people need to be diverted or supported with treatments and supports in order to really build those constructive futures.
Excellent. And also, there's a person elected from each district on the Governor's Council, correct? And I think there was, 8 districts?
There are 8 districts, correct.
Excellent.
They're big districts.
And just for the viewers, you're running for District 2? And
District 2, it's the only district, it's the only candidates that will appear on their ballots. But we are District 2, and we go from Needham all the way down to Plainville, Attleboro, and around Bridgewater, Milton. It's a big district, 37 towns.
Excellent. So could you talk about the most important political issues or causes to you, and anything you have done previously to help address those causes or issues? And I know you did a little bit about this previously.
Yes. So, when my oldest daughter was going through college, she got exposed to a prison writing class in her school. And we started the family started to have some conversations about different systems, not just in the United States, but different systems worldwide that do a really excellent job helping people through their period of incarceration in a constructive way so that they can go forward and have productive futures. So it was just that little introduction really led to my going back to social work school. So really my preparation for this work is really social work study and diversity awareness and coming into community with people. When I was working in homelessness services in Cambridge and Boston, there's so much learning, and I sometimes said it's learning that's hard to do. People suffer in their struggle. It's a really hard set of circumstances. But what I really learned is that until we come into community people, until we get to meet people and get to know people, we don't understand the world from their view. And we can only understand the world from their view as an adjacent person, right? We don't understand it because we didn't live it. But it helps us build our compassion when we really sit in a place and try to learn what other people are experiencing. Folks experiencing homelessness are just like you and I, with very hard circumstances. Sometimes it's substance use disorder. Sometimes it's a guy who owned his own business and had a heart attack and lost everything. Sometimes it's divorce. And it ruins the family financially, and these are all experiences we can relate to. We just don't expect to be so dramatically impacted by them. So my real cause, my real focus is to elevate the voices, the circumstances, the realities that so many people face that are likely very different than the candidates' circumstances, right? So to elevate that conversation, how do we build a system that is constructive and restorative and connects people, yes, in an accountable fashion, but also to the supports and services that they need to lead brighter futures, right? The futures that we all hope for ourselves, similarly.
And the day for this election, it's in September?
September 3rd is the primary, and of the 4 candidates, whoever makes it through the primary as the winner out of the primary will face an opponent. There is a Republican opponent for the November 5th general election.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there would like to know more about you and your campaign,
Yes.
please give your website and any social media information.
Yeah, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them, right? And I lost them, but that's fine. Here they are. MurielKramer.com is my website. Very easy, I think. I thought it was clever, but my email is a little harder. It's Muriel Kramer, the number 4, G-O-V, council @gmail.com. And then I am on Facebook, Muriel Kramer for Governor's Council. I would love it if people would check me out. Email me, look at the website. You can contact me through the website as well. There's a direct link to email me from the website. So I hope I'm easy to find.
I'm sure they could find you. All right, so to wrap it up today, we're going to give you a minute or two just to make one last statement to the voters and why you should be the pick for Governor's Council.
Thank you so much. So I really believe that we can do better. I hope that what I talk about sort of brings a message of optimism and hope. There are treatments that work for substance use disorder and mental illness, and we should be fully deploying them to help people. I want to improve our legal system. We need to make appointments that ensure all of our human rights are protected. This definitely goes to the rights that we have come to expect and enjoy now: LGBTQ+ rights, women's reproductive health rights, workers' rights. But we also need to address the hard questions like moving the needle on systemic racism. People of color are 6 times more likely to be incarcerated in Massachusetts and across the United States. We know that there are issues with racism, so I would really like to be part of the constructive conversation that initiates change. I mentioned when I was going back for my master's degree in social work, I wanted to advance social justice. I'm such a big believer, honestly, in the power and promise of this country, and I believe we can make needed change that helps us all. I want to promote substance use disorder treatment and services whenever possible. I want to track and trend. I want to establish a methodology where we set benchmarks and we measure our progress so that we mitigate for systemic racism in our system and maybe set the way for other systems across the country to also do a better job. And I want to find ways to invest in people and communities. Judges, clerk magistrates, parole board appointees, all of these individuals have incredible power in the system, and I want to make sure that we make careful appointments so that those folks are equipped with a growth mindset and an ability to interact with what we need to do to make the system better in the future.
All right. Well, that is Muriel Kramer, candidate for Massachusetts Governor's Council District 2 in the Democrat primary. Muriel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.